All right, let's jump right in. We're looking at a book that, at first glance, seems like a pretty classic spiritual text from India. But how it got to the West back in 1970, well, that's a story that involves one of the biggest pop stars on the planet, a very personal search for meaning, and a truly epic tale of gods and demons. And this is our entry point. This little note was handwritten by George Harrison of the Beatles. It's right there in the foreword of the book we're talking about today. It's this wild bridge between the 1960s counterculture and a philosophy that's thousands of years old. So you have to ask, right? Why was a Beatle so deeply invested in this specific book? And what I love about this quote is just how raw and honest it is. This wasn't some casual hobby for him. He was on a serious spiritual mission. He was looking for something real, something he could actually experience, not just blind faith. And he felt he found a pathway to that, what he called God perception, right inside the pages of this book.
And look, this wasn't just talk. He actually put his money where his heart was. He put up the entire $19,000 needed to get the first edition of this book printed back in 1970. I mean, that's over $150,000 in today's money. It was a massive personal investment just to make sure this story could be shared. Okay, so here's our game plan. We've talked a little about the Beetle and the Swami. Next, we're going to dig into the core definition of Krishna that the book lays out. And from there, we dive headfirst into the story itself, which kicks off with a planet in crisis, a terrifying prophecy from the sky, and a truly impossible choice.
Right, so what's the big idea at the heart of this book? Before we even get to the story of Krishna's birth, the author, Prabhupada, makes it really clear that before you can understand the story, you have to understand the name. Because according to him, that name is the key to the whole thing.
Okay, so here's the core concept. The word Godhead is basically interchangeable with the idea of all attraction. The name Krishna, in this sense, literally means the all-attractive one. It's less of a name and more of a job description, But what does all-attractive actually mean? So the book breaks it down into these 6 qualities, or as they call them, opulences. And think about it. We're all drawn to people who have some of these qualities, right? Someone who's incredibly wealthy, or powerful, or just stunningly beautiful. The idea here is that the Supreme Being is the one who has all 6 of these, all at once and infinitely. That's what makes Krishna all-attractive.
Okay, so with that big idea in our back pocket, let's get into the story. And this story doesn't kick off in some peaceful, serene setting. Oh no, it begins with the entire world literally on the brink of collapse and crying out for help.
So here's the situation. The planet was being run by these incredibly powerful rulers who were, as the book puts it, actually demons, just masquerading as kings and royalty. And their corruption was so bad, their rule so destructive, that the earth itself, personified as a being named Bhumi, was in so much pain that she decided she had to do something.
And this sets off a whole cosmic chain of command. So first, Bhumi, taking the form of a cow in grief, goes to the creator god Brahma. Then Brahma, who totally gets how serious this is, leads a whole delegation of other divine beings to petition the preserver of the universe, Lord Vishnu. And finally, Vishnu sends this message directly into Brahma's mind, promising that yes, he will appear on Earth soon to fix things.
So the promise has been made up in the heavens, but how does that actually play out down on Earth? Well, we go from this massive cosmic scale right down to a very human, very intimate moment, a royal wedding. And this happy celebration is where the entire conflict of the story gets lit by a voice from the sky.
And at first, the scene is just perfect. You've got the noble Vasudeva with his brand new wife, Devaki. They're on their way home from the wedding. And get this, Devaki's own brother, the powerful Prince Kamsa, is driving their chariot himself. It's this huge gesture of affection. I mean, everything seems absolutely perfect.
And then, in an instant, everything changes. As they're riding along, this voice, with no body, just booms from the sky. It's a prophecy, and it's not for the happy couple. It's aimed right at the guy holding the reins, Prince Kamsa. The voice says that the 8th child of the very sister he's driving, she will give birth to his killer. Kamsa's reaction isn't to think or to question. It is immediate and it is brutal. He literally drops the reins, grabs Devaki by the hair, pulls out his sword, and is about to kill her right there on the spot. So Vasudeva, seeing his new wife about to be murdered, he jumps in. But he doesn't just beg, he tries to reason with him, using philosophy. He's basically saying, hey,
Why are you so afraid of death? Death is born with you. It's going to happen anyway. He's appealing to Kamsa's intellect.
But, there's a limit to what reason can do, especially when you're dealing with someone who won't listen. And this moment right here, it sets up the first huge moral test of the story, forcing our hero, Vasudeva, into an unthinkable position. And the book makes a really sharp distinction here. You have Vasudeva, who's coming from a place of logic, of honor, what the book calls the demigod mindset. And then you have Kamsa, who's running on pure demon logic. It's all about fear, paranoia, and rage. The text says he's immune to good instruction. So all of Vasudeva's smart, philosophical points, they just bounce right off him.
So Vasudeva realizes he has to change his approach fast. Philosophy didn't work. Appealing to his honor didn't work. With a sword literally at his wife's throat, he's got one last card to play. He makes a bargain, a truly unthinkable bargain.
He tells Kamsa, look, she's not the threat. The prophecy is about her future children, right? Not her. And then he makes this unbelievable promise to personally deliver every single child they ever have into Kamsa's hands.
And amazingly, Vasudeva, being a man of absolute honor, keeps that promise. So when their first baby boy is born, he takes the child himself and presents him to Kamsa. And here's a twist. Kamsa is so blown away by Vasudeva's integrity that he says, you know what, keep the kid. But that moment of mercy doesn't last long. The sage Narada shows up and basically whispers in Kamsa's ear, don't be a fool. The gods are plotting against you. And just like that, Kamsa's paranoia kicks back in, full blast. He has both Vasudeva and Devaki arrested and thrown into his dungeon.
And that is when the true horror of that promise begins. Inside that prison, Devaki gives birth to one child after another. And one by one, Kamsa comes and kills them, right in front of her. All the while, he's just counting, waiting for number 8, the child who is supposed to be his doom.
And that's where we have to pause the story for now, right in the middle of this impossible, horrifying situation. It's a moment that takes this ancient epic and makes it feel intensely personal, because it leaves you with this really heavy question. What does it really mean to keep a promise? And just how high a price is too high to pay for honor?